Hi, I'm Marcia Woon, CEO of ActionCOACH Jamaica, and welcome to the first of our business tips in the series Candid Conversation and Business Tips, which we're doing in collaboration with the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce. So I'm not sure how many people tuned in last week when we did our first session, and there we had the Vice President of the JCC, Ian Nita, and Ali Martin, our business coach of ActionCOACH, where they were actually launching the series with an interview with the Minister Audley Shaw. And for those who tuned in and maybe watched afterwards, it was a very, very enlightening interview. And a couple things that I took away from it, the one that really resonated with me was when Minister Shaw said, we have to rescue Jamaica. We have to rescue our youth. And I remember reading this book, Profiles of Courage, by John F. Kennedy, where he said that in the US, the foundation that they were now standing on was as a result of the decisions that their forefathers had made in the past. What that said to me is that right now, Jamaica is facing some serious decisions, as is the world. And what decisions we make right now will determine the foundation that we lay for the youth of Jamaica. So we approached the JCC to have this collaboration, to start the conversation about what we would do as we face what is probably the greatest challenge that this world has ever faced. We are now a global economy and very joined together. And so the decisions that we make will impact all of our countries. What is important as well as we move forward is that to ensure that we come out of this situation, not just surviving, but thriving as a country and as businesses. The topic today is going to be on your mindset matters most, and it does. So I want to go into, something that many of us may have seen already. And it is this particular slide. It's been circulating and it's around building a strong mindset. And I love the question. We did this first in April. And the question that was asked in this slide is, who do I choose to be during the COVID-19 crisis? And that's the word choose. Who do we choose to be? So in the early stages of this crisis, many of us went through fear and anger. This was in March into early April. And everybody was panic buying toilet paper, hand sanitizers, etc. Everybody was acting like a victim, looking for somebody to blame, hoarding medicines, etc. Because during this period, there was a lot of fear. It is now July. So as we proceeded through the months, some of us transitioned into the next zone, which is what we call the learning zone. And in this learning zone, it is where we start to develop a mindset of cooperation, of service, where we started to let go of control. And we're going to touch on that a little bit more. Then many of us started to realize that we were consuming too much negative news, and it was having an impact on us. So we started to stop consuming those things that should cause us harm. And that is from what news to what you eat, etc. Some of us started to look at how can I plan to use my time better. John Maxwell said during this time, he recognized how much in his life he had no margin. So he really started to sit and do things that he had not had time to do before, now that he was not traveling a lot. And then we also have to accept that everyone, and I say this, be gentle with yourself and be gentle with others, and accept that everyone is doing their absolute best in what is the most terrible and complex situation. But the important thing too as well to look for in a crisis is opportunities. And so some of us then moved into what we call the growth zone. And here we're looking for ways to help others and to find meaning in what we do every day. I said to Arlene, Coach Arlene, I went to Otrias a couple weeks ago. And I said, when I came back from Otrias, I just had a sense of despair. There were no businesses open. And I said, we have got to start this collaboration. So in this phase, I was looking to see how could we as ActionCOACH start to help others, and definitely reverting to our vision of Jamaica Abundance. And so we partnered with the JCC, Voice of the Business in Jamaica, because this is a time in which we all have to come back to our whys. Why are we doing what we're doing? And importantly, in this growth zone, to also be looking at, I'm in the now, and that's the only time that I can make decisions and take any actions. And most importantly, to remember to be grateful for being alive and for being able to help other people. So this was that slide, and I just wanted to share it with you. To this day, we're not sure whose slide it was. It was just around social media. But as we talk about your mindset matters most, I said that there was a word attached to it, and that was choice. So we have got to, as a people, learn to operate from what we call the point of power. So in this point of power, you can either be below the point of power, where you remain in that zone of blaming, giving excuses, and being in denial, what we call the bed, which many people just sleep in. Or we can decide to operate above the point of power and choose a mindset which says, I am going to take ownership. I am going to be accountable, and I am going to be responsible for the results in my life. So those operating above the point of power are choosing their results, choosing what kind of results they want to have in their life and business. We have got to choose that as a nation and as business owners, recognizing nobody's coming to rescue us. We have got to own it. Many of us want to stay below that point of power and blame, yes, the US, blame China, blame everybody else. And all we are is about excuses. But when you do that, you give your power away. And I said to so many people, business owners in Jamaica, who are sounding so sad and despondent, I'm saying, listen, come above the point of power. We have got to pivot. We have got to reinvent. We have got to rethink. We have got to reopen. And this is what that series is going to be covering as well over the conversations that will occur every Thursday. What are we doing as business owners to reopen responsibly, taking full ownership, being accountable and being responsible, and recognizing that, listen, we have the power within us as individuals and as a nation. So the mindset we have got to develop is one that, it takes time. So I want to say for many of us, we went through that phase of denial. As we said, blame, and then we started to justify why it is that our businesses will not be able to succeed, or why it is that we can't reopen. But then we started to feel shame because others were doing it and others were actually opening. But that shame also led some people to feel like quitting, like giving up. I just don't have it. Until the reality is facing many of us, and the reality is, guess what? COVID-19 is here for a while. We have got to move from feeling, okay, I want to give up and quit, to recognize I have an obligation right now. I have my family to feed. We have our children to send to school. We have to be able to survive. So now we move into that responsibility zone. And as leaders, and I'm speaking to business owners who I hope that is who I have on this call, is on this live stream, is that responsibility must be chosen. We can't delegate it to our team members or to anybody else. As leaders, we have to take responsibility for where our company is going. You have to develop that mindset which says, I am going to succeed. I remember a business owner saying, even if he's the last one standing, we must have that mindset that we are going to succeed. So I want to introduce this concept of the identity iceberg. And you know, in a crisis, what is revealed is our identity. And our identity will be tested in a crisis. And so it is time for us to pause, assess, and really affirm what are our beliefs, what are our values, and how do we see ourselves. So the results that we want to achieve, that we are going to have to develop as business owners and responsible leaders, will be seen as just the tip of the iceberg. And what we will see are the actions, decisions, and behaviors that each of us choose. And it will show in the results. That is all that people can see, is what are the results? What is your business doing? What's happening in your life and in your business? But what impacts those results and what people can see, which is just the tip of the iceberg, is actually what's below this waterline. You know, you see an iceberg and you only see the tip, but what's below it is this huge mass. And that mass, what impacts your actions, decisions, and behaviors and the choices that you will make, is how you see yourself, your identity, yourself individually, and your company and your team. And how do they see each other? What are the values? You know, in a crisis, your values are really tested, and your beliefs about whether you can succeed or not. And then the skill sets. Do we have the skill sets? I'm telling you, many of us have had to learn. I have had to learn so many new skills because everything has gone online. Even here right now, I'm doing this live stream, both doing it and also producing it at the same time while doing the session. The skills that we had to learn have been immense. But then at the same time, what impacts this iceberg is the environment that it sits in. And during this time, as we have that mindset to succeed, we have to start looking at what kind of environment is our iceberg sitting in? Is it in an environment that's going to continue to keep the form of the iceberg? Or is it an environment that is going to cause it to collapse? We have to look at who are we hanging about with? Who are we surrounding ourselves with? What kind of information are we letting into our space? So for this mindset, we have got to be able to start to develop the skills, beliefs, values, identity. You have got to change those before you can actually change your results. And those skills, those beliefs, values, and identity will impact what type of actions, or even whether you take any actions or not. Are you going to probably curl up in that bed and stay below the point of power? I spoke to a business owner yesterday and I said to her, for you to go to the next level, you're going to have to upskill yourself. You know, Brad Sugars always says, the founder of ActionCOACH, you cannot grow a business that is bigger than your thinking. So we're going to have to shift our identity iceberg. And so as far as we're concerned, during this period, all of us have got to learn that the only failure is a failure to participate. And what that means is every day we have got to get up and try something new. We are going to have to try something new. We're going to have to keep going. There is no failure. Yes, you try something, it may not work, and you try again. Thomas Edison said, it took him 10,000 attempts to develop the light bulb. And he said, what I learned was 9,999 ways how not to make a light bulb. We have got to have that mindset which says, listen, I am going to succeed and I'm going to keep trying a million different things and I'm going to keep going. So as we say, give 100% and you get 100%. We cannot do this half-heartedly. You know, I remember one of our coaches, Indira Coach, she's also our top engage and grow coach globally. And I remember her saying so many times, it is a difficult period in this world. But guess what? She has never worked so hard in her life. And it's true. And it's showing in the results. So give 100% and you will get 100%. That's the mindset we have to have, both for ourselves and for our team. And what I want to cover now is we have to focus on the things that we can control as we move forward. We can't control everything. You know, I said to another business owner the other day that sometimes some of us who have what we call a dominant personality, is what we call a high D in the disc. This is a very trying time for us because if there's one thing that we're used to doing, it is control. D's thrive on being able to control their environment. So right now, whoever, and I'm one of those with a very high D personality, right now, you just feel as if you can't control anything. Things are changing so quickly. So I really want us to start to think about this as we move forward. What do we have control over? You cannot try to control things you don't have control over. So there are three spheres. There is your sphere of control, which is here in the middle. There is this thing that we call your sphere of influence and everything else. So I want to look at each of them. In this sphere of control, which is what we call the law of connection, therefore, we're going to look at the first one. And here, in this law of connection, a lot of people are allowing what's happening in their outer world to determine their inner world. Remember, I said this is about mindset. Don't allow what's happening on the outside to get into your inner world. You are larger than anything that can happen to you. What we have got to do is develop the habit of focusing on what we have versus what we don't have. Stop focusing on things we lack. Instead, focus on what we have and give gratitude every day. Connect with your family, with your friends, with the things that you already have, and wake up with a spirit of gratitude if you're healthy. The other thing is the law of control. You know, I remember in his book, it was Viktor Frankl, and it was where he was in prison. And he said one of the things is that while I was in prison, everybody, they stripped him, they flogged him, they put him into isolation. And he said, you can do anything to me. But the one thing you cannot do is control my thinking. Folks, this is where your mindset matters. And we have control over putting a different thought in our head. We don't have to accept every thought that's coming at us, everything that comes in the newspaper or on the news. We have control over our thinking and ourselves. And one of the things we have control over as well is our feelings. You know, as Maxwell said the other day, you know, that your emotions influence your emotions. So if we keep moving and we keep thinking high energy stuff and keep moving, then it renews our energy. But when we go below that point of power, which is in the bed, and start to lie down and blame and give excuses or in denial, then that depletes our energy. We need to get out of the bed. The other area as well is the law of change. Folks, this is where it matters. I have used this. Some of you may have heard me talk about my history with depression once in the biggest financial crisis in 2008, 2009. And one of the things that I learned to be able to overcome that challenge was the power of my thoughts. And I filled my mind with a new set of thoughts. Now, I'm a Christian, so I filled my mind with the truth from the Bible, the words, and I got up on the inside every single day with words of power, of courage, of strength, and of faith. And I chose faith over fear. We can change our thought patterns now, folks. Too many of us are allowing fear to overwhelm us. You cannot feed faith and fear at the same time. They cannot coexist. What we have to do is change the thought and our thought patterns from negative to positive. Focus on faith. Faith means you have to choose a path. On achievement. Focus on that and starve the fear, because fear leads to paralysis. If we're going to get through this, and I'm going to tell you, this is not a short-term journey. COVID will be with us for a while. Everything that the government is asking us to do right now, which is to wear masks, to social distance. I am going into businesses where I am seeing people are already starting to relax the requirements. And I feel at risk when I go into some of these business places. So we have got to ensure that we start to change our thought patterns to one that recognizes that, listen, this is going to be for the long haul. And so I'm going to have to start to think differently and to respond differently. You know, in the early stages, we were reacting out of fear. But as we move forward now, we have to change how we respond and respond responsibly. And then the other thing about the law of change is that everything is neutral until we give it meaning. And some of us are giving way more meaning or too much meaning to certain things that are happening and are over dramatizing things. We have to just focus on what we can control, and the things that we can't, we leave them. The other area I want to focus on now is the law of attraction, because when you're going to develop that mindset that we need to move forward, we have to start to recognize this law of attraction. You may have heard of the book, The Secret. Your brain wants to prove what it thinks. It looks for anything that will prove its hypothesis. So we always talk about what we call the RAS in your brain, which is your reticular activating system. We also call it the compass for your brain. If we look for doom and gloom, this is just the law of attraction. You will find it. If you look for success and abundance, you will find that. Be careful again what you set your brain to focus on, which is why we say in coaching, we set goals. We focus on a new vision of what you want instead of sitting and focusing on what you lack. If you focus on drama and turmoil, which is what many people are doing now, it will consume you. I remember someone saying that she was almost paralyzed with fear. She started to think about what could happen to her family. Suppose my family gets sick suppose my husband gets sick. And she just went down through all the supposes, and at the end of it, she was a wreck. We have got to stop that. What we focus on, folks, we magnetize. I really want you to get the sense of your mindset is what's going to matter the most in this crisis. So I want us to move into a mindset to succeed. We are coaches because we're not thinking coach. We're called action coach. Because what we are saying as a part of our vision is Jamaica abundant through business re-education, which means our mandate for the last 10 years has been to re-educate business owners of 30, 40 years in business. When they come to us are going, oh my gosh, I never knew. And this is because there are many people that I've encountered in the 10 years that I've been running this franchise here in Jamaica, many people who have what we call a fixed mindset. And with respect to skills, that fixed mindset says it's something you're born with. So really, I don't have to learn. I'm either good at it or I'm not, and I have it. But a growth mindset says skills are going to come from hard work, including leadership. Any new skill is going to come from hard work and repetition. The other thing is that the growth mindset says with respect to skills that I can always improve. And folks, we always can improve. I tell everybody, 10 years ago when I became a coach, I used to be a VP at Citibank. I was not reading the amount that I was reading until I became a coach. When I became a coach, for the last 10 years, I've been reading at least 4 books a month through Audible, through Kindle, through iBooks on my phone as physical books, listening to podcasts, listening to webinars. I am constantly growing and improving my skills. Another thing too is that those who have a fixed mindset, when it comes to setbacks, as we're having now, tend to blame others and gets easily discouraged. But those who have a growth mindset says, listen, yes, there is a setback, but it's a wake-up call to work harder the next time. What cracks has it shown in both myself and maybe in my business, and what are the areas that I need to improve in and my team needs to improve in? So we use this setback as an opportunity to grow. The fixed mindset, when it faces challenges, said it's something to avoid. I don't like it. I don't want them. And that could easily reveal a lack of skill because you have the fixed mindset. And then you give up very easily. You know, Darren Hardy once says that many businesses fail not just because they run out of money in the first 5 years, but simply because the business owner gave up. He just gave up. It was just too hard. Whereas a growth mindset says, listen, when I face a challenge, embrace it. It's an opportunity for me to grow and to become more persistent in the pursuit of my vision and my goal. You know, our coaches have been doing many pro bono sessions. That's another way of us giving back during this challenging time. And, you know, during those pro bono sessions, I found that so many people have lost their vision for their business, can't even remember why they started, or didn't even have a proper vision for their business. So it's for us to reconnect with that and be persistent about saying, yes, there is this challenge, but listen, the world has gone through many challenges in the past, and I am going to persist through this challenge, and I am going to succeed. The fixed mindset also says effort is really unnecessary. It's something you do when you're not good enough, because the fixed mindset says, you know, it's something you're born with. But the growth mindset says effort is essential. Every one of the truly successful people will tell you it takes hard work. Hard work. And it is essential to succeed. And it is a path to mastery. It is hard work that will allow you to develop the skills and the tenacity and the understanding of your trade and of the skill of running your business. And then the fixed mindset also says, you know, when it comes to feedback, they take it personally and they get very defensive. Whereas a growth mindset says, you know something, feedback is useful. It is something that I can learn from, and it helps me to identify areas to improve. And so I embrace that feedback. So the question is now, folks, we said mindset matters most. And so during this time, are we going to choose to have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset? Because it's a choice again. Everything comes down to choice. So I want to leave this particular phrase. I really love it. It says, the most dangerous phrase in the English language is, we've always done it this way. I'm going to tell you, folks, we are in a new normal. And actually, one of the things we've also started to say, instead of saying a new normal, say it's a new now. because things will be changing constantly. If there is anything, the Japanese word said kaizen, constant and never ending improvement. Change is going to be constant for us. So we can't keep looking back and wishing for the past. The past is gone. What we have to embrace now is our now. This is our now, and it is the only time, folks, that we can make a decision, take actions, make decisions, and impact our results. So I'm going to share with you now this powerful video that I really and truly enjoy. And I'm going to just share it with you. Give me one moment while I bring it up. Here we go.
Now, a moment in time flanked by what was and what could be. Every now has the potential to be a punctuating moment in time. A kinetic explosion of what could be only comes when you take action in the now. We delay our now in the name of good timing or convenience, but they are thin veils for a deeper truth. We fear, so we stall.
I'll think about it more.
You'll do that 2 months from now.
Right. If I can postpone it, I can get ready.
Yet we only really get one now, which we sacrifice for later. No opportunity waits. Leap into your now.
So what we really have, folks, is just now. That's all we have. The only time we're ever present is in the now. And this now is the time that we must come above the point of power. No opportunity waits. It's now. So I really want to encourage you folks to consider growing your skills, upskilling yourself, learning new skills, planning, developing your team to go the mile, because we are going to have a long haul ahead of us. But as we said, the decisions that we make now are going to influence our future and our children's future, our youth's future. So on Thursday, I want to encourage everyone to join our Coach Arlene on Thursday, July 16th, and Ian Nita from the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, as we have our candid conversation this Thursday with two of our business owners. One of them is Stephen Marston, and he's a CEO of CAC 2000 Limited, and Delta Supply Company Limited, which should be represented by its general manager, Jonathan Swire. They're both in different industries. And remember, folks, it's going to be the collaboration between our companies, both public and private sector, that will determine the success of our nation in the future. So we want to start these conversations where we will hear from different business owners as they share the challenges they're facing as we reopen in this new COVID environment, as well as some of the things that are working well for them. We also want to showcase business owners where together they may have services that you can use to help you to be a stronger business owner, to be a more successful business during this COVID time. So I encourage you, tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock, and especially this Thursday at 1. Join us for that conversation where Ian and Coach Arlene will be having that very impactful and engaging discussion with Mr. Marston, Stephen Marston, and Jonathan Swire. So I just want to thank you folks for tuning in today, and I look forward to sharing with you again next week, Tuesday, on another business tip. And this time I'm moving away from having that success mindset to now looking at what are some of the things that we need to be doing. And there are 9 principles we're going to be sharing as we rethink, reinvent, and reopen our business in this COVID crisis. Thank you very much.